Thank you so much for joining us today. I am excited to be able to introduce Steve Chazin, VP of Product Management of Alarm.com. We very much appreciate the support from Alarm.com and our research and across our events each year, and excited to talk to Steve today a little bit more about the connected health space and the smart home industry. So welcome, Steve. Thanks for joining us today. It is a great time to be in the industry, and our Q1 2021 consumer research shows that now 64% of consumers are using telehealth services, up from 15% in 2019. And this is really just an example of how behaviors are changing for consumers as a result of the pandemic. I want to take a minute and allow you to introduce yourself, tell us what you do and what you're working on, and then ask you a few questions about the future of healthcare.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for having me. I manage our partner tools, our business intelligence, and our wellness vertical at Alarm.com. And I've been at the company for about 3 years, spent most of my career in enterprise and consumer brands. And I think I'm at the right company at the right time in the midst of the consumer changes for healthcare.
So that's great. And tell us a little bit about some of the things that you've seen specifically in the past 18 months. We've heard that the pandemic has been a huge catalyst of change, not only for consumers, but healthcare systems. So what are some of the takeaways that Alarm.com is seeing in the market?
Yeah, there's a couple of them. The first one you mentioned about telehealth and telecare. Any way you can avoid a trip into a hospital or a doctor's office, it's good to use technology to do that. About a year and a half ago, we launched a product we called WellCam. You can kind of see it over my shoulder there. It was a camera dedicated for this purpose. You put it in a consumer's home. Family members, caregivers can look at them, make sure they're okay. And if they need help, they can press a button, have a two-way voice conversation. We saw that pick up pretty dramatically during COVID, including hospital systems, one major one in Kentucky, who put these in pop-up ERs because they were running out of PPE and they needed another technology in order to have care delivered to the bedside of these patients. It's pretty incredible that we were fortunate to be part of.
Oh, yeah, that's great. And it's amazing how quickly hospitals have been able to shift their operations to integrate technology. Can you talk a little bit about the role of voice and artificial intelligence? All of these things require integration, broadband, and really a continuous offer for consumers to have the experience that they need to have as it relates to healthcare.
Yeah, Alarm.com pioneered the connected home 20-some years ago by putting a cell radio in a security panel. And we've led the market ever since, especially around two-way voice, so that if somebody needs help, they can get it. We can connect them to the monitoring station partners and they can get what they need. You can imagine that expanding in a post-COVID world where their security solution can provide them help as and when they need it. We're also seeing a couple of other trends in the last, I would say, 5 years, which are very interesting and ones we probably wouldn't have imagined. One of them is the fact that now the mobile phone that many of us carry around has become the central store of health data for a consumer. In the past, our records were stored on paper in a physician's office, and now my phone has more up-to-date information about my health than maybe my physician has, and I can take that with me. And then the second thing that we're seeing, again, probably none of this was expected 5 years ago, and it's only gone more dramatic during COVID, is wearables and services that consumers gladly pay for in order to stay healthy. You think about Apple Watch with an Apple Fitness Plus subscription, or a Whoop band, or a Fitbit, Amazon Halo. These are tools now providing insights and suggestions for people to stay healthy, where before they'd have to see a doctor who would then give them the insights and suggestions to get healthy. So you're seeing this other angle around people taking ownership of their health, and it's pretty remarkable.
It certainly is, and certainly some of the capabilities that we're seeing with smartwatches and the wearable devices to be able to track specific vital signs and bodily functions that can help with predictive and or proactive types of analytics. That also leads to the idea that technology can enable people to live in their homes longer. And so that independent living segment, the seniors who continue to get older as we all do, really wanting to stay in their homes, and family caretakers wanting to make sure they're safe. Can you share a little bit about how Alarm.com's solution really impacts that caregiver market and those seniors living at home independently?
Yeah, that actually is one of the things we've been doing for over a decade. Very proud of that. Our wellness solutions turn the security panel and the sensors in your home into a different kind of offering so that we can look at patterns of behavior. How often are they moving through the home? How often have they left or come in? Have they changed their behavior? Are they safe inside their home when they should be? And that information informs dashboards powered by AI, which then is provided to a caregiver or a family member to have an understanding of what their loved one is doing so they can be in front of problems and trends before they become issues. It's probably one of the most understated, but probably transformational components of our platform that we've seen, and that business has been in high demand.
Sure, and I can certainly see that that pitch of spending hundreds of dollars a month versus maybe thousands a year, as well as keeping people in their homes. I don't think anybody really wants to have to move out of their home into any facility. So I was just talking to somebody about those average costs of facilities and how they're just astronomical, and nobody wants to be there in the first place. So a lot of work that can still be done to keep people in their homes and safely. Let's talk just for a minute about the future of healthcare. We've seen dramatic changes in 18 months in the past, and we have the next 18 months that look like a little rocky maybe. How would you characterize things moving forward in the next year to 3 years out?
So I think that if you look at now that consumer health data is available on every smartphone, it's ready for companies like Alarm.com and others to create these new connected health solutions that we couldn't do before. And one example of something we're working on is in the same way that our system notifies a homeowner that a window has unexpectedly opened at an odd hour. We don't know if it's you getting a breath of fresh air or an evildoer trying to climb in your window, but we notify you that something doesn't look right. In that same way, we can notify family members or caregivers if a loved one may experience a high heart rate, low blood pressure, maybe they've just got a positive COVID report. That piece of information often stays locked on the phone. You can imagine using our system to communicate that to people that care about them. The other component of this is, and it goes back to kind of democratizing access to better healthcare. In the same way that like PCs democratized access to computing. If you remember back in the day, you had to be in a mainframe. You had very little access to the power that was in that room. Now we all have PCs. In fact, we have hundreds of them all around our home, in our phones, on our watches, our microwaves, our robot vacuums. And we see the next wave of connected health as a fusion of the sensors that are in our homes, in our cars, on our bodies, in our offices, all looking out for changes or trends, and then turning that data into insights and those insights into action. I call this ambient awareness, which is essentially using data across a variety of devices to provide this loved one and their family with an understanding of how things are going.
Well, I really love that ambient awareness. That's awesome. And certainly Alarm.com is playing a huge role in the industry to push things forward for the consumer. It is all about the experience, and especially within healthcare, how can we help people remain in their homes safely and longer? So Steve, I want to thank you again for your time today and for Alarm.com's support of Parks Associates research and events. Thank you for joining us, and look forward to seeing you in person soon.
Thank you for having me.